This newest era that we are currently in will be the best era in wrestling history. You can see it in how over every single wrestler is. The storylines are actually meeting their conclusions, and the wrestlers actually feel like they believe in what they're doing from a week-to-week basis. Not to mention, the crowds are as crazy as ever, maybe even more so than the Attitude Era, and all of this can be said for one man especially. The second his theme song hits, the entire crowd goes crazy. He's the more popular of the two brothers. His moveset lacks in diversity. He also isn't the best on the mic, but nevertheless, he is the most over person in WWE currently. There is no one that matches the aura that he brings out to the ring every single time. And to top all of that off, he is still only a top mid-carder at best. Why are you talking about Jeff Hardy? Jeff Hardy? No. I'm talking about Jey Uso. No, everything you just listed is exactly what Jeff Hardy was at the height of his popularity. Surprisingly, you're not wrong. It almost feels like WWE is trying to bring back the past in the form of this new era with characters portraying old ones within the same storylines that have been told in the past before. And while it's not exactly a one-to-one, you can see where it's like almost borderline. They're trying to say the same thing. I see what you're saying about Jay and Jeff, but that has to be the only example, right? Well, no. About a year ago, I uploaded a video talking about how we're essentially getting Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon in the form of Cody Rhodes versus the final boss, The Rock. Which, in a way, we got. It wasn't one-to-one, but it was essentially the worker wants to get over the big boss man, and so he did. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention, I think WWE is the best it has been in at least over a decade. So just remember that as we go through what I'm about to say. So like I said, we had the aforementioned Austin versus McMahon with Rhodes versus The Rock. And in a way, now we kind of have John Cena acting like The Rock when he joined Vince in the corporation. Funny how things come like full circle. And we have others like Seth Rollins is like Shawn Michaels. Rhea Ripley is this generation's China. Chad Gable is almost a carbon copy of Kurt Angle. Then you have Sami Zayn. He really reminds me of Mick Foley. And I hate to say it, I always hate to bring him up, but Logan Paul is almost like a young Chris Jericho. I could keep going on, but I think you've got the idea. This is the first time since the Attitude Era that the roster has been this stacked, and I didn't even name that many people. Not only that, but we actually have characters and storylines that make sense and have direction. But there is one thing I do want to talk about for just a brief second. I think the second biggest thing that helped the Attitude Era become what's known as the greatest era is that it truly felt like anything was possible. Anything could happen. When you tuned in to Monday Night Raw, anyone could show up. Anyone could have a match. It could be any match. And guess what? It felt like anyone could win any match. It felt like anybody could win any title. And I do truly feel like that is starting to come back to wrestling. I know not everyone was excited when Jey Uso won the 2025 Royal Rumble. I was one of those people, even though I'm behind Jey Uso. That was until I realized why WWE did it. WWE always likes to tout during Royal Rumble season that anyone can show up, and anyone can win. For the Royal Rumble, you have entrant number 1 all the way to entrant number 30. And any single one of those guys can win. Go back and watch any Royal Rumble, excluding the 2025 one, and you'll see that at tops, they had 5 people that could possibly win it, and it makes sense for them to headline WrestleMania. Most of the time, you get like 4 or 3 guys, so having 5 is absolutely amazing. This is the first time in 37 years of throwing people over the top rope that someone won when no one thought they would. Not a single person thought Jey Uso would win the Royal Rumble. And if you did, you are actually crazy. This year's Royal Rumble is probably the first time that WWE has ever hit 10 possible winners. Yes, a third of the wrestlers in a match, I believe, actually had a chance at winning with how over they are. So I'm just going to read from the list I made. These are all the people I thought that actually had a chance at winning at this year's Royal Rumble. John Cena, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, AJ Styles, LA Knight, and Jacob Fatu. Now, you may disagree with some of those, but I mean, I would believe any of those guys would win over Jey Uso. And if you disagree with me, what's wrong with your noggin? You could say that all of this unexpectedness that WWE is trying to bring back started at night 2 of WrestleMania last year, which I would say you have a good argument, but because of the stipulation of the match and everything, it was kind of expected that people would show up. Now, you didn't know who was going to show up, but you knew somebody was going to show up. But I think what WWE is trying to do here is ultimately for the better, leaving us constantly guessing as to who actually has a chance at winning, who actually is going to show up, what will happen when you tune into Raw, when you tune into SmackDown, when you tune into NXT, or when you tune into any premium live event. Now, in saying all of this, I do think WWE needs to just fix one thing. You thought I was just going to compliment him the entire video? That's not what we do here. Triple H, Papa H, has a little bit of a gooning problem. It seems like some storylines on a week-to-week basis, like we'll get little droplets here and there of like what's going on in the storyline. And then just out of nowhere, we'll get this whole big ceremony of like, now you should care about this storyline, and you can't as a fan because they just been leaving us breadcrumbs, and I don't care because you didn't get me to care all those weeks beforehand. Like, we went a whole month and you just gave me breadcrumbs, and now we're in this new month and you want to serve me a whole buffet. Why, Triple H? I'm not saying give me a buffet every night, but, you know, at least a meal. Give me a meal. Give me something to snack on. A breadcrumb? A breadcrumb. Come on. And the thing that sucks is they'll have wrestlers who are currently in a storyline show up to a Raw, SmackDown, whatever, and then they do nothing. Like, I mean, they talk, or they'll be in the ring, they'll wrestle, they're doing something, but nothing to bring the storyline further to its conclusion. Take, for example, the perfect example, the Jade Cargill storyline, where she was somehow pushed onto a windshield of a car and was taken out for weeks because of it. Was it Raquel Rodriguez? Was it Liv Morgan? Was it the entirety of the Judgment Day? Or was it who every single person guessed it was? Naomi. It was Naomi, if you didn't I get that. It could have been one of those great whodunit storylines where Bianca and Naomi get to play detective and they go up questioning wrestlers backstage. You know, men, women, factions, it doesn't matter. They could have just had so much fun with this. Instead, for I don't even know how many months, we got nothing. Like, they bring it up and they talk about it like, oh, where's Jade? Have you heard anything about Jade? And then we as the fans are like, oh, we're getting something. And then nothing. Just nothing. And then when Jade finally comes back, no one cared. No one cared when it was revealed that Naomi did it. No one cared. Like, the coolest part of this entire storyline is when Jade came back at Elimination Chamber and took Naomi out of the chamber match. How is that the coolest part? Like, you could have had so much fun with this, WWE, but you screwed it up. You didn't care enough about it. I understand that Jade probably did get real life injured, but this was just a real lazy way to keep the tag team belt on Bianca and give Naomi a title belt. Like, a lot of this story doesn't make sense, and it could have been just so much more fun. It could have been so much more fun, and they missed out on a perfect opportunity. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is if somebody's going to be on the show, doesn't matter what show, make them do something that furthers their storyline or develops their character. I understand that WWE wants to create these huge moments like Jade coming back at Elimination Chamber. But if you wait for too long, no one cares anymore, which is why the Attitude Era was so good. And I know I'm probably going to get some flack for this because some storylines didn't make sense in the Attitude Era, and I'm sure some just dropped off out of nowhere. But for the ones that you do remember, we weren't waiting months for things to happen. Something was happening week to week to week. It could have been anything, even if it's just something goofy. Make it a part of the story so that way we stay tapped into it instead of going to our phone or, switching the channel whenever the stupid storyline pops up. The one you don't care about. Because there's plenty of those, but I'm just using the Jade Cargill one as an example. Now, even though I did this entire video, and I know the internet will never stop doing this, I do think it is time to stop comparing the different eras. Because the Attitude Era was lightning in a bottle. You will never capture it again. Doesn't mean we can't have something better in this new era. We can have something great back then, but we can make something even better now. I think it is truly fair to say that WWE is trying to make this the greatest era of all time. And I do believe that this WrestleMania will be the tipping scale to see which direction we go in. Are we going towards the greatest, or are we going towards the worst? Hopefully, for all of us, we're going towards the greatest, because the past few years have been fantastic, and I don't really see WWE taking their foot off the gas. It is so crazy that WrestleMania is right around the corner, and I get to watch it for free. Do you get whatever you want in that TV? Yeah, pretty much. I would love to go see WrestleMania live. The last show I saw live was Money in the Bank 2022, the one where Austin Theory won. And before that, it was like, I was a kid back in the early 2000s. I couldn't tell you what year it was. I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. But yeah, I would love to go see WrestleMania this year.
Well, too bad. You'll just have to sit at home and watch it here with us.
Yeah, we can get snacks and throw a little party. It'll be great.
Or you could go.
Who are you?
That doesn't matter right now. Just wait a little bit and enjoy.
Okay. is this?
In the morning, I leave for Las Vegas for the weekend.